You're not alone. If you need someone to talk to today, please contact Crisis Services Canada by either calling them at 1-833-456-4566 all hours of the day, or you can text them at 45645 at 4 p.m. to 12 a.m. Eastern Time. Remember, you're not alone, and Crisis Services Canada is here to help. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this edition of Coffee with Graeme on ASTV Productions. I'm your host, Graeme Forsyth. Of course, Coffee with Graeme is brought to you by Fabricland Winkler and Evolve Green. Thanks to everyone that's taken the time out of their Thursday morning for choosing to watch Coffee with Graeme wherever you guys are at. I hope that everyone is doing well on this Thursday morning. We got a loaded lineup for you guys in today's episode. We got 3 guests from the MJBL joining us in today's episode, but the first guest joining us is the Executive Director of Softball Manitoba, Don Klym. Don joins me in today's episode to just talk about what the year of 2021 has been like for Softball Manitoba. Coming up after the intro, Don is going to be joining me here on this edition of Coffee with Graeme on ASTV Productions. Joining me now on Coffee with Graeme is Executive Director of Softball Manitoba, Don Klym. Don, thank you so much for taking the time out of your, what I'm assuming is a very busy day with provincials and all that coming up. How are you doing on this Wednesday afternoon?
Doing real good. Thanks for the opportunity to share our sport with you guys.
Yeah, no problem. It's always great to talk softball here on the network, even though we don't do it very often. It's always great to have the opportunity to do that. But yeah, let's talk about just the, season of 2021 for the Softball Manitoba Association. Just how's it been going just in general, just softball returning here in 2021?
It's been quite a bit of a roller coaster in 2021 as compared to 2020. Again, we're dealing with COVID and a lot more restrictions this year. We've pushed our provincials back. I've changed provincial dates 4 times now on our competition calendar, and we've had to move hosting locations around. So I just have to say I'm very appreciative of the amount of patience our hosts have had working with our provincial championships and all that. But we're ready to go. We ran our first provincial last week, our AAA U19 program, and it ran fine. It was a little modified. We couldn't have a playoff due to restrictions, but with a few of those lifted coming into this weekend, we're going with another 6 provincials on 3 different locations, as well as 4 locations, and then 2 weeks down the road in the last weekend in August, as well as 2 weekends in September, we're going full bore with full provincial championships, including playoff structure. So it's all good to date.
It's good. It's going to be a very busy upcoming month and a bit here for you guys at Softball Manitoba. Just speak about, going through the COVID-19 pandemic with softball. I mean, every sport went through COVID-19.
Right.
We've been going through it for the past year and I don't know, over a year and a half. Just speak about how, the things you guys took away from last year have really helped you guys be able to stay the course this season.
Yeah, well, the main thing was our return to play document. Nothing really changed there. That was a huge take for us last year to put that together. Going into this year, not much has changed. So we were able to to use the same dock and the same playing rules, restrictions. It was just the PHOs, the public health orders, and their restrictions that really kept us condensed as far as when we could start. Usually we start May 1st. This year we didn't get back on the diamonds until July. Our provincials usually start in July, and we've pushed those back to August and September. So it's been a trying time. We've done registration basically with all our leagues twice, originally in the spring, and then rebooting and re-registering everybody again midsummer. So hopefully it's a go the next couple of weeks, and we get our provincial championships in safe and sound.
Yeah, hopefully you'd love to see that be able to happen safe and sound, like you said. But, just looking at it, how many players and teams, for that matter, registered this year with Softball Manitoba?
We're looking at about a 50% decline from the last 2 years. Last year wasn't too bad. We got most of the teams that registered with us in the minor category participated in provincials as well. This year, with the 2-month delay as compared to last year, we probably lost half of our registration numbers.
Could you speak about how many leagues you guys got going on right now as of this moment?
All our leagues have returned. We probably, other than one or two of the smaller ones, we've gone to a new structure over the past 2 years where all our AAA programs are divided into the province. We've got it divided into 8 different regions. And with each of those regions, we have a AAA organization. And to marry up with those AAA organizations, we have a minimum of 1 A league that they can farm players out of, and as many as 3 A leagues in each of those 80 regions. What we're trying to do is just have put those leagues all into one. So we'd have 1 A league per region, 1 AAA organization per region, and they would just work together much like the pros and farm systems. And that we see a lot of the teams, we're seeing better parity throughout the province, less travel, less player migration, the rich robbing the poor, and everything's coming down to an equal base of play, and it's looking really good in the future.
Yeah, it's great to see that, and unfortunate that there was a decline in registration, but always nice to see just parity in, for this case,
Right.
just softball. And
we look for those numbers to return again as the world comes back and returns to normal.
Yeah, for sure. As long as everyone's getting vaccinated, doing their part, we should be able to see that, hopefully. Fingers crossed by next year in 2022. Let's speak about provincials. Of course, you talked about how you guys already had 1 provincial championship finish already. Just speak about how many provincial championships we're going to see here in the month of August and in the month of September coming up.
For sure. Starting this weekend up in Norway House, we've got all our male provincial minor males. So there's a U10, U12, U14, and U16 teams competing up north. In that, most of our teams are from Norway House or the Cross Lake area in the minor male program. We do have programs out in Brandon, Pegwis, Fisher River as well. But with COVID, there have been limited travel this year. And basically, we're going to have approximately 20 teams from the Cross Lake, Norway area this weekend up there. We also have our U10A program going on in East St. Paul this weekend, starting Friday afternoon. Thursday, tomorrow afternoon in Stonewall, we've got our U12 AAA program going, 8 teams competing for the gold there, as well as the U19 female program in Brandon. Another 10 teams going on out there. So that's our first weekend. Next weekend is a lull, is a bit of a break. And then the last weekend in August, we've got our 14 and 16s taking A's taking on, girl programs taking place in LaSalle and at LaSalle and Steinbach in those areas, and then a couple of September provincials, 1 in Brandon and 1 in the Steinbach area again. Friedensfeld. So it's going to be busy over the next few months, and I would just hope everyone check out our competition calendar at softball.mb.ca for the full report.
Yeah, for sure. Check that out for sure, everyone, if you're interested. And, it's great to see just the many places where you guys are going to have provincials this
Right.
year. Talking about the updated restrictions from the province of Manitoba, how have they really played a factor into how you guys are going to be moving forward
Well,
for the region?
earlier on, we were limited to even having a tournament. So we went into our U19 AAA, for example, similar masking a schedule almost where they play one night a game, one game a night, one game a day. So there wasn't any cross games. We couldn't have tournament format or all that. So we got with a 6-team event, we got through that over a 4-day period, and it all worked out well. Now with tournaments being allowed in sport, we're opening it up a little more, but we're of course still following all the PHOs and keeping the sport as safe as we can.
Yeah, that's great for sure to be able to see that change and to see these things be able to be a possibility now because of the restriction updates. Of course, provincials will be happening, but do you feel like we could be seeing leagues hosting any city championships this year? What's going on that front?
Most of the city championships, I think they're going to be smaller with the decreased registration. Teams have combined a lot to enter provincials, so I really don't see city championships being that big of an item. I hope they are for those leagues that are registered with us, but at the same time, we're getting good representation from those leagues, sending us their better teams to the provincials. So that's probably a league question. I hope for our next interview, I can update you better on that.
Yeah, for sure. It's nice to see that teams are kind of joining together and making trying to put out the best product they can in provincials for sure. It's unfortunate that not going to be seen as many city championships, but it's going to make for a better product.
Right. And again, that's another balancing act too. We're trying to keep it as fair as possible, sticking with our pickup rules, but at the same time, trying to give every girl out there an opportunity to play ball and every guy.
That's awesome. Let's talk about the summer pitching clinic with Greg Bouchard. When is it happening? And just fill us in on the details about that.
Again, check our website out for Bouchard's clinics, and we've got a lot. We've got more than just him. We've got as good as the program Greg puts on. Check out all our development programs out there. We're just starting to get our hands untied and back into coaching clinics and more programming for them, and we're following up with athletes as well, trying to fill gaps, giving them as much skill development opportunities as possible, and that includes Greg's can pitch clinics and the rest of his team, and any skill camps, general skill camps, as well as what's going on here at Sport Manitoba. We always help out and offer our assistance where we can with their summer sport programming.
Well, awesome. Great to hear it, Don. It was great talking to you today on this Wednesday afternoon, the day before this interview goes out on this Thursday edition of Coffee with Graeme. And yeah, as the season rolls along here and as we near the end of it, I'm going to be sure to have you on again at some point to just talk about how things ended up going here with softball in Manitoba.
Look forward to a wrap-up after the championships are over. Thanks a lot, Graeme.
Yeah, for sure. Don Klym, Executive Director of Softball Manitoba, joining the show today here on Coffee with Graeme on ASTV Productions. I'll be back without Don for the next guest on today's edition of Coffee with Graeme on ASTV Productions after this commercial break.
Why go solar? Solar is better than ever. Our revolutionary design and inverter equipment with the latest in solar panel technology for the ultimate in-home and business security. That's right. I said security. Grid security and security of your home are linked. Fortify your future today with a battery backup system. No maintenance. Quiet running. Did you know in Manitoba, grid-connected, off-grid, and battery backup systems are 100% right off in the year you purchase for any company or farm? Do you want to back up your internet? Keep your tills running and the lights on? We can install a system that is right for you with battery backup fully capable of taking on all those essential loads and keeping you running. When you call our experts at Evolve Green, ask about getting your free energy audit today. Call or email today to find out what system works best for you. 1-866-5EVOLVE or support@evolvegreen.ca. Also, be sure to check out our website at www.evolvegreen.ca.
Welcome back to Coffee with Graeme on ASTV Productions. Don Klym, Executive Director of Softball Manitoba, joined me first on today's episode. We're now going to move away from softball and move into some baseball coverage. The MJBL, our coverage for this Thursday episode on August 12th. Of course, the season wrapped up last night with 3 games in the league. We're going to show you guys the standings now, the final standings in the MJBL for this 2021 regular season, as well as how those 3 games last night ended up going in the MJBL. Taking a look at the scores from last night's games, Elmwood finishes the season with an 8-2 win over St. James, ending their 2021 regular season with a 16-1-1 record. Elmwood also finishes with a perfect record of 9-0 at home. Meanwhile, for Altona, they finished their season on a high note after beating Winnipeg South 5-1 in their season finale. The Bisons finished the season with an 11-7 record, and then moving on to Carillon, they took care of business in their final game against Interlake with a 6-3 win, and that win for Carillon moved them up to 3rd place in the standings heading into playoffs. St. James, after the loss, finishes in 4th after falling to Elmwood. And the first guest joining me from the MJBL in today's episode is none other than League President Jamie Bettens. Jamie joined me on today's episode to talk about the parity surrounding the league this season within the standings, as well as the excitement around the league going into playoffs, and the double elimination playoff format that the MJBL has decided to roll with to decide who is going to be the league champion this season, and more on this edition of Coffee with Graeme with League President Jamie Bettens, coming up right now. Joining me now on this edition of Coffee with Graeme is MJBL President Jamie Bettens, and man, a lot of excitement around the league, I'm sure, Jamie, with playoffs starting up, coming up Friday, double elimination. It's going to be a lot of fun to see, but I got to ask you first off, how have you been? I mean, you said you were doing some coaching today. How'd that go?
Good. Just helping my daughter's softball team out a little bit. We're preparing for provincials ourselves, and it's a busy time of year in the Bettens household, but it's exactly the way we love it. From an MJBL perspective, I couldn't be more excited for the week upcoming. Starting on Wednesday night, we have the last couple of games of the regular season, and the season is literally coming down to the wire, and the last couple of games are going to decide some serious playoff seeding, and teams are going to go as high as 3rd and finish as low as 6th in the league, which will determine home field advantage for the first round and a lot of other things. So this is the best time of year. Our product is probably at an all-time high at this point in the season because everybody's gotten their reps under their belt and teams are hungrier than ever to compete for that elusive championship.
Yeah, no doubt about it. We got, of course, the heavy favorites, Elmwood, looking for that 4th straight championship. Altona sliding into the playoffs. Some ugly scores that have been put up against them as of late. But yeah, it's just a very competitive league this year. Would you say that the parity this year is at an all-time high? Just looking at it, I mean, there's only 2 teams over 500 this season at this point. Just speak about the parity that we're seeing this year compared to other years in the league.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that Elmwood is at the top for a reason, and coming in as the 3-time defending champions, you have to tip your hat to them and the job that Ed Kulik and the group is doing there. And then from that point on, it's wide open. That being said, if you look at some of the games that Elmwood has played, some teams have definitely challenged them. And the excitement of a double elimination format is that you don't have to play a team like Elmwood in a 3 or 5 game series, you're playing them in a 1 game opportunity, winner take all kind of thing, where you can send them over to the B side and make life difficult to win your way back, or even eliminate them from the tournament. So if you have a good pitcher that going that day, your defense is good, or you know, have a great first inning and, you know, jump out of the gate with some runs and then play some good defense, anything is possible. And that's what we're excited to see with this format.
Just speaking about one of those teams that actually beat Elmwood this year, giving them their one and only loss, St. James, a team that's currently at 8-9, third in the league, a team that has 100 runs for, 90 against. They beat Elmwood this season earlier in a 1-0 ball game. Just speak about St. James and what type of damage they might be able to do in the playoffs this
Yeah, I
season.
think St. James is similar to a couple of clubs where if the pitching is there, they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. I think their bats have shown that they can score some runs, but the pitching at times has, I wouldn't say let them down, but it's maybe just not performed up to expectation on a couple of instances. But at the same time, you can't read a lot into it because in the Manitoba Junior League, you know, players are sometimes in and out of the lineup for different reasons and have other commitments and training commitments, and not all the players are there at the beginning of the season. So I wouldn't put too much stock into St. James' record at this point. I think that they are one of those, you know, top 3 or 4 teams that's going to challenge, and I'm sure they're licking their chops to get a shot at Elmwood at some point. If you want to be the best, you're going to have to beat the best, and I think that every team's ready for that.
Yeah, no doubt. That's how the old saying goes, right? If you want to be the best, you got to beat the best, of course.
Mhm.
Talking about Altona, a team that started off really strong this season, but they've been really struggling as of late. This is a younger team this season and a team that have lost a player, most notably like Arlen Peters. Just how much trouble uh, do you think that this team is in, considering the way things have gone for them as of late, and just getting blown out in the last 4 games, giving up at least 12 runs in those games?
You know what? I think those kind of things happen when teams are kind of prepping for it, getting into the playoff scenario. I think they were confident as to where they were going to end up in the standings, and having played and coached in the league myself, you know, I don't again put too much stock into kind of some of the results. I think Altona is ready to play. You know, I have spoken with their executive team, and their comments were basically, you know, we'll play anybody anywhere at any time. We just want to get this thing started. Whether Arlen Peters in the lineup or not, you know, is not going to matter. It would be a nice to have, but it's not a need to have. And they've got such a strong young system of players that, you know, somebody else is just going to plug in and get an opportunity to pick up the slack. Altona is one of those teams, you know, I would have up there as somebody to watch too. And again, over a 3 or 4 day tournament schedule, if the right team gets hot, watch out.
Yeah, and I mean, just looking at it for them last year, them having the GM of the year in Kurt Leckerman, it's just that team is, you can never count them out, like you said, with what they've been able to do, especially going back to last season. But just one thing that was notable in Altona's final series in the finals last year against Elmwood was them losing a bunch of players due to college. How much of that are we seeing this year, of course, with Arlen Peters heading off to college already? Just what's been the I guess the results with that, with teams around the league this season, with them losing college players, if they have?
It's a little bit slower because we're still in early August, but you know it's now just starting. So there's a couple of teams that are getting nervous as this tournament even goes on. That on a day-to-day basis, maybe, you know, losing a few players, or some guys are calling their coaches and saying, "Look, I have a chance to compete for a championship. You know, can I stay 1 or 2 days and maybe report to school a little bit later?" Um, and we're hopeful that the college coaches are a little bit lenient, because playing provincial level championship baseball is probably going to be a little stronger than anything they're going to do in their first week or so of college. That being said, you know, we still are in a situation in the world where, you know, we have to cross borders at certain times and quarantine for periods of time as well. So, you know, we have to obey those rules, and so do the players. So we're hopeful that we don't lose too many and it takes away a bit of the shine of the tournament. But at the same time, I don't think there's a single team that's using it as an excuse as to why they may win or lose this tournament. They're going to go all in and try their best.
Yeah, it's going to be so exciting to see just this unprecedented double elimination style of play in the playoffs. We talked about it earlier in the months here in 2021 when I had you back on the show on July 1st. Just speaking about why you guys at this point decided to go with the double elimination tournament other than going with the traditional playoff tournament.
Well, I think the main thing for us was the provincial recommendations is with regards to the COVID guidelines. Tournament play was really only allowed about a week ago. In expanding facilities and putting that kind of opportunity in front of us of the league, and even spectators and fans to have playoffs over a typical time frame that we would for the league. It would be 2 to 3 weeks to get it done. We'd have the first round would be a 3-game series, and then the next 2 rounds would be 5-game series. And there just really wasn't enough time to fit it in, starting a little bit later than expected. And due to the time constraints and the allowance of a tournament format, we talked as a group and said, if that's how it looks like it's going to be, we all kind of agreed the excitement around it's pretty good. And we're going to give it a shot, and who knows, we might be on to something that we will do for years to come.
Yeah, just see how it plays out for sure. There's definitely going to be a lot of interesting things happening with a type of style like this without a series being played with you guys don't going with double elimination. Just speak about what the excitement has been like throughout the league, just as playoffs are getting set to gear up with this double elimination format being in place, just the excitement from the teams that you've heard.
Yeah, I think every team, welcomes the opportunity. I think if anything, the top seeds in the league, I wouldn't say they're nervous. I think they're the top seeds for a reason, and they'll welcome any challenge. But the fact that it's a 1-game scenario every single time you play to go win or go home, it becomes a little bit. I think there's some added tension for every team in this, and whether you're facing elimination or you don't want to lose a game early on and have to play an extra 2 or 3 games to win your way back, not to mention getting to the final and having to maybe beat somebody twice back to back to win the championship. So it doesn't matter what team, they're all excited for it. They're kind of excited to see where they fall after the end of the regular season tomorrow, and then start fresh on Friday and let it go. We've actually decided we're going to host it. The very first opening games on Friday will be at the home park of the higher seed, and then after that, the tournament moves to Elmwood, Stonewall, and Winnipeg South. We're going to keep it to those 3 diamonds to ease up on our officials and our teams so that they're not traveling on all of the different days, going to all these different fields all over the province. So we've kind of condensed it to those 3 fields. And I would say check our website for kind of updates on the tournament tree and the scores, and where your favorite team in the MJBL may be playing throughout the weekend.
Yeah, for sure. Check out MJBL's website too. Of course, what Jamie said to check those things out. Just talking about the updated restrictions now from the government of Manitoba, saying indoor and outdoor sports and recreation will fully open with limits only on spectator capacity, assuming we're going to see much more spectators than we've seen in early parts of the season. Just what's the excitement around that in terms of just how many spectators are going to be able to come out to watch these teams play in the playoffs?
I think the MJBL fan really knows that the playoffs are the hot ticket. It's the chance to really see when these players are as polished as possible, and the adrenaline is absolutely at an all-time high. I think we're going to see probably double, maybe even triple the fans that we've maybe seen over the past 30 days because of the restrictions. The weather is supposed to be great, knock on wood. And it's held at great parks. Winnipeg South has a beautiful facility. Stonewall is, world class, and Elmwood is, done tons of improvements over the past, 4 or 5 years, and they have, almost like a college-like facility there as well. So, our fans know that when they go, there's going to be plenty of room to, sit where you need to sit, or even social distance if you feel comfortable that way. There's no bad sight lines. You're going to see it, and you're close enough to the action where you really feel like you're a part of the game. So again, I anticipate a lot of fans coming out come Saturday, come Sunday, when those playoff rounds start to really kick in, and that final on Monday I think it's probably going to be a one game that turns into a doubleheader with an if necessary game, and wouldn't be surprised if 9 o'clock at night somewhere in the Elmwood area, as they seem to be the host for those two games. It could be that that team going for the four-peat and somebody ready to knock them off and finally claim the crown themselves.
Yeah, and just speaking about Elmwood, I mean, 15-1-1 this season, just dominant. 5.5 games up from Altona, who's the second place team in the league. They have 170 runs. Next best team is at 108. 45 runs against. Next best team is at 90. Just speaking about what they've been able to do this season, coming in with being the three-time champions with that three-peat, looking for that fourth championship in the row. When's the last time we've seen a team as dominant as Elmwood, or have we seen a team as dominant as Elmwood has been this season ever?
I think you're hard pressed to find, somebody that has really, challenged and won 3 in a row looking for 4. I know, Elmwood's, I think they've actually done that in the past. So, they continue to be a class organization in our league year after year. And it's a credit to Ed. It's a credit to, the Al Kinleys and some of the people that have been there long before, the Dave Olsons of our league and of our province. These guys have given their volunteer blood, sweat, and tears for so long for this organization, and that they deserve it. The one thing that Elmwood does to become one of our model franchises is they run a program. They run a good program. They do things with the grassroots. They have younger kids wanting to be future Elmwood Giants, and they fill holes in their lineups wherever they see fit, and they provide an atmosphere that is championship like, develops good young character in some of these men, and success breeds further success. So players want to play there, and that sometimes draws the ire of the teams in the league as well. But at the same time, that's not going to slow Elmwood down from doing what they do best, and just doing it for the kids, and that's what it comes down to, and that's what they do great.
Yeah, for sure. Just from top to bottom, a just world-class organization in the MJBL for sure. And it's going to be exciting to see if they can, in fact, go for that fourth championship in a row. You guys up the level this year in terms of the age level to U22 instead of U21. Just how has that played out this season in terms of getting returning players back on these teams that we wouldn't see in other years?
I think it's a twofold. I'm more on the side of the development model, and while it may appear that granting somebody an extra year may cost eligibility or playing time for maybe an incoming freshman into the league, it really hasn't. The teams have all managed well. We've increased the roster size as well to accommodate that. And what you're seeing with these older players is more experienced players who've been in the league a lot longer, and the product is a lot better. The games are more competitive, and those younger players, or even those provincial team players that are too young, not too young to be in the league, but maybe just getting their start, they're facing some very, very outstanding players. And so if you're going back to college, or even want to just challenge yourself as a Manitoba athlete, facing the best possible competition is obviously in the Manitoba Junior Baseball League now, and we like it. We think it worked well. We had some female players in the league, and 2 of them have gone on, and they're at the Baseball Canada selection camp right now in Trois-Rivières. So we feel that we helped as a part of their development as well, and that's exactly what we strive for. We want to develop young men and young women in our environment to go on to success, whether it's on or off the field, and we think we're doing that.
Just looking back at last year, with you guys being able to start your season and finish it with great success, just looking at it again this year, it's like a mirror image, even though there's been less games, of course, with St. Boniface not being in the league. Just how truly proud does this make you to see that you guys have been able to have yet another successful season during a time where COVID-19 is still in play?
Again, I don't take any of that credit. I place that all on the executives of the teams in our league. It's unfortunate that St. Boniface is not a part of this year. I know they wanted to be, but it was hard to get commitments. And, decide whether or not the college players were going to be able to come back to fill their roster. And if they did, I think they would have had a very competitive team. But to go back to the question, it's the tireless volunteers in all these communities that put these games on and that put their lives at risk to provide a COVID-free environment, and one that's comfortable for all of our players and our officials. The umpires have been fantastic, as they always are. And without these, true volunteers, we don't have anything. We're very proud, and we don't take it lightly that we're probably the only league to declare a provincial champion in Manitoba this year. And so we're doing our best to provide a safe environment and a good product for fans to love.
Yeah, just amazing to see. And just like you said, just the dedication of everyone around the league to make this thing happen once again this season is just absolutely phenomenal. We're going to end off with this question. We've spoken about Elmwood, Altona, and St. James. Just in terms of the other teams in the league, which are some of the teams that you're looking to potentially maybe upset a team like Elmwood in the playoffs this season and go for that championship?
That's a tough spot to put me in. What I can tell you is, you look at some of the matchups that could get very interesting. You look at a 2 seed like Altona and facing Interlake, for example. Interlake had their number all year, and Interlake just didn't quite have the results in the standings, but yet they had some success with Altona. So if that becomes a matchup, that's one that I'm going to watch. I think St. James Elmwood is going to be, a very heated battle, big rosters, big benches, and a lot of passion from both sides of the field. I think we're in for a dandy game if they match up. I think Carillon's a tough out for anybody because they just have a bit of an even lineup all the way throughout. Pembina Valley has some strong college players, but they're one of those teams that, towards the end of the tournament may lose a couple of players to college, and we'll have to fight. And I think it'll be interesting to see, those guys step up and see maybe some of their midget call-ups, fill in some spots. And if they're ready to play, they have an opportunity. And then you look at a team like Winnipeg South, who's, kind of new coming back into the picture, but they've earned some respect. They've had some close games against everybody. And if anything, I think they have a little bit of a chip on their shoulder with something to prove. And that's kind of one of the scariest teams that you want to face in a one-game elimination, is a team that has nothing to lose. So, I'm kind of dancing. I'm not going to give you a great answer. But I think on Monday night, when we're presenting a championship trophy, I'm looking forward to somebody like Elmwood being in the final, because they want that four-peat, but I'm looking for whoever they play against to be extremely motivated to try to knock them off that perch and see one heck of a game on Monday night.
Well, regular season wraps up, I guess, once this episode goes out. As of yesterday, playoffs starting, I guess, when this episode goes out tomorrow night. And then, of course, season wraps up on Monday. Will it be Elmwood or will it be another team? I guess we'll have to wait and see to find out. President of the MJBL, Jamie Bettens, joining me once again on Coffee with Graeme. Thanks for coming on. It's always a pleasure, Jamie, getting to speak about the MJBL.
Thank you very much. Take care.
Coming up on Coffee with Graeme, Joel Zillman will be joining me next. He's the assistant coach of the St. James A's. He joins me on the show today to talk about how the season has gone for St. James this year. You're not going to want to miss it. More Coffee with Graeme coming up after this commercial break. Graeme is another member of the MJBL. He's an assistant coach of the St. James A's in the league. His name is Joel Zillman. Their team has their final game of the season coming up tonight at 7 o'clock against the Elmwood Giants. Joel, thank you so much for taking the time. We're about, almost 5 hours until game time here. Just how are things going for you on this Wednesday afternoon before the game today?
Good. Everything's great today. We penciled in a couple of lineups and found a last minute team snap where our starting pitcher wasn't going to show up. So it's always a fun game day.
Yeah, some uncertainty there for sure, but it looks like you guys, have had a good season this year. You guys sit in third place as of right now, 8-9, half a game up on Carolyn for that third place spot. 100 runs for, 90 against. Just talk about how things have gone this season. You guys struggled opening up coming out of the gate, but you guys have really pulled it together since then. Just talk about how the season has gone for the St. James's.
Well, we started out the season with really high hopes, with fantastic pitching, fantastic defense. We went 0-5 to start the year. The baseball gods weren't on our side for 5 games. It was bad hops. It was, you name it, close games that we just couldn't pull through. Came together after that. Pitching has been absolutely stellar for us all year. So is defense. The bats decided about maybe 6 or 7 games ago to really start to come alive. So that's awesome coming into the playoffs. We got a really, really deep top 9, 10, 11, 12 guys even for a batting order to go into the playoffs, which is lots of fun. Really, really deep roster this year. Tons of excitement coming into the season. Tons of guys. We played last year with a roster of about 8 or 9 people, and 3 or 4 midgets call up every single game. So, that was fun. That was entertaining, and kept us all on the edge of our seats all year. This year has been exactly the opposite, right? We had about 25 people that wanted to play with us this year, which was fantastic. Getting them all out to one game is obviously never happens. But for the playoffs this year, we're hoping, we got a really deep bench, and, we got good hopes, high hopes, playing well.
That's great. And yeah, I mean, you guys sit third right now in the league in runs for with 190 runs against, which is second least in the league right now. Let's talk about that defense for you guys, just around the pitching first off before we get into the pitching. Just how have the players around the pitching really come to play this season for you guys into having that success that you guys have been able to have?
Well, we've been blessed this year with a very deep pitching staff. So, we're not running out one ace or 2 aces out there. We're lucky to have literally got 6 or 7 absolutely quality number 1 starters that we can run out there at any time, which is a luxury. I've spent a lot of years on a baseball diamond, and I've never had a luxury like that before. So, that's really where it starts with us, is with our depth.
Yeah, for sure. Always nice when you're able to have that type of depth with pitching. Definitely goes a long way into you guys having success. What about like the infield and the outfield for you guys this year? Could you speak about that?
So we got a couple of young fellas up the middle that when they're there together, absolutely fantastic defense up the middle. Shortstop, second base, our center fielder is absolutely outrageous. He'll go get a ball. We moved, what I would consider to be one of the top defensive players in the year last year, our shortstop. He's moved over to third base to make room for the couple of young fellows that have come up to play up the middle there. And, it's been really, really fun to watch when they're together, second and shortstop. So, yeah, that's been a lot of fun this year, actually.
Yeah, I bet. Just always nice to see that. Just young players coming in and making a difference, and you can move a player around like that short stop that you guys had last year to third base and not even miss a beat. Just speaking about the bats now, 81 runs for last season. You guys finished ranked 7th in that regard. You guys are ranked 3rd this year in runs for. Just speak about how the bats, the offense is different this year for you guys compared to last year.
So like I said, last year, the bench was a lot shorter. We were bringing a lot of midgets up. So, 16, 17-year-old players coming up. This year, that's absolutely not the case. So guys look down the bench and they see, there's 25 guys here. So we got to hit a little bit if we want to get in the lineup for the playoffs. And, that little bit of urgency became a little bit more evident in the last couple of weeks. Guys are going, I want to play in the playoffs, so I got to hit. And we kind of we successfully took on a new approach about halfway through the year of really trying to establish good at bats. And once we got 2 strikes, really, really trying to focus on a good 2-strike approach and seeing a lot of pitches and wasting a lot of pitches and going up there and having good at bats. And, since that focus really changed, so did the offense, and it's really come together. So,
Yeah, great to see that. And, just looking at it, like you said last year, you guys, a lot of uncertainty with the lineup just in terms of just the number of guys you had. Of course, a way deeper team in this season. Just speak about how you guys were able to bring in the type of players you were able to this year with the, talking about just the, more, what's the word here? I guess more eyes on the team in terms of people wanting to participate and to wanting to join this team.
sure. I don't know. I think we got really lucky. We got a couple of players that have deep roots in the baseball community and know a lot of people. Bill, the head coach, myself, Howie, the other assistant coach. What we really focus on in St. James Junior Baseball is a fun environment, right? We understand that for the most part, these guys are working full-time jobs and showing up to baseball at the end of the day. So St. James Junior Baseball is like I say, focused 100% honestly on fun, coming out and having a good time, right? It is absolutely not a stressful environment. That being said, we play hard, we focus, we practice hard, we're out there to win, but it's all for fun. And I think that message, it trickled down a little bit throughout the league, I think. And, we were fortunate to have a couple of guys that said, you know what, that sounds like a good thing this year, just going out and having a little bit of fun. And, we're happy to provide that kind of environment on a baseball diamond. So if you're not having fun at baseball, what the heck are you doing?
Yeah, that goes for baseball, any sport, right? If you're not having fun, it's kind of a waste of time. And it seems like you guys have had a lot of fun this season. And, just talking about it, opening up the season 0-5, of course, an average of 5.4 runs against, an average of 2.8 runs for. But then you started to rattle off wins 4 in a row, starting off with that 8-5 win against Interlake, and most notably a huge 1-0 win against the Elmwood Giants. Just speaking about this, how you guys have been able to match up with the top teams in the league, like a team like Elmwood, as well as a team like Altona too.
So like I said, that 1-0 win in Elmwood, that was a fun one. That spoke volumes to our pitching depth right there. We ran a young man named Nathan Fulcher out for that game, I believe that was his second start of the year. In his first start, he didn't throw many pitches. And ourselves, we weren't quite sure what we were going to get in that game, right? Getting 3 or 4 innings was a real bonus. And he threw a complete game shutout, which was absolutely incredible. And, we've gone up against Altona a couple of times. I don't think our luck has been as good against Altona. But that game against Elmwood, I'll tell you, that was, like I said, that spoke to our pitching depth in a big way there.
After starting off the season like you did, starting off 0-5, I mean, coming into that game against Elmwood, riding high off of an 8-5 win, just to get that win against the team that has won 3 titles in a row, just what does that do for a team's belief when you're able to go out and do that against Elmwood, a team like that?
Well, I mean, it just solidifies it. It didn't shock us by any means at all. Everybody on that team looks up and down the field and sees the talent that we've got on that field. And when we go out and put up a win, nobody's surprised. Elmwood's a hell of a team. Don't get me wrong. 1 through 9, that batting order, they got 4 or 5 absolutely stellar pitchers on that squad. Hell of a team. When we go out and beat them, though, that's, just another day at the races for the St. James A's.
It's great to hear. It's like it's expected, and that's one thing you love to hear. And it's scary, I think, for just teams that are gonna come up against you guys in the playoffs moving forward here. Just speak about the excitement around the feeling around the team, just knowing that it's not going to be that traditional playoff format this year, but rather that double elimination playoff format. Just the expectation for the team heading into a weekend like this, where it could be 2 games and you're done in a double elimination format.
Absolutely. So our expectation is the same all year. Go out and have some fun, right? Control the things you can control and have fun. Play good defense, throw strikes, run hard 90s, do the things that you can do. And at the end of the day, if you do those things well, the talent that's on the field, more often than not, you're going to come out on top. So that's our expectation, is to go out and play hard and to do what we can do.
How many years does this mark as you being on the team's coaching staff?
Well, with this particular group of guys, I've had the opportunity to coach a lot of them on and off since their first year of midget, missing a year here or there. But yeah, with this particular group of guys, I'd say I've had them 5 or 6 seasons, something like that.
Right on. Yeah, just looking back at last season, losing in that first round of Carolyn, you guys got off to a bad start in game 1, going down 6-0, and you guys were up 2-0 in the first 2 innings of game 2 before losing that game 4-2. Just for the players that went through that last season, for the players returning from last year's roster to this year's roster, just how much of a motivator is it for you guys, knowing that you guys fell short in the first round and to potentially maybe get into that championship this year?
I don't think, in all honesty, I don't think anybody's really looking back at last year and using that as fuel. The team that we've got this year is comprised of, there is a group, a solid group from last year returning, but there's also a very solid group of midget players and of players that we've been able to acquire from kind of across the province and across our city. So, using last year's first round exit as fuel, some of them might be using that. Absolutely. I don't think as a team, we're not promoting that. We're promoting this year as our big year. This is a real solid squad. And this is our year. That was last year. If some of them are using it as fuel, good for them. Good on them. But we haven't talked about it much.
Right on. Love to see it. Just not looking back at the past, but looking forward. Living in the present and then looking in the present and then looking forward to the future here in this upcoming weekend, where it's going to be a lot of fun. Best of luck to you and your team heading into tonight's matchup against the Elmwood Giants, final regular season game of the year for you guys. And then playoffs start Friday. Going to be a lot of fun to watch for sure. Thanks so much for joining me, Joel. You take care.
Thanks for having me, Graeme. It's been a blast.
Yeah, no problem. That was Joel Zillman, assistant coach of the St. James A's in the MJBL. Join me on this edition of Coffee with Graeme. We'll be right back after the break for more Coffee with Graeme here on ASTV Productions. And joining me now, about almost 4 hours away from their game tonight against the St. James A's, it's number 4 for the Elmwood Giants, Owen Nychyk, on this edition of Coffee with Graeme. Owen, you're on break right now. Just how's work going so far for you today?
It's slow. Just the area we're working in is very sloppy from the rain we got last couple days. So it's all right, I guess you could say.
Yeah, whereabouts do you work?
Just off of Lage and Duggold. Kind of in a business center, I guess you could say. Not too sure exactly how you would describe it.
Yeah, right on. That's awesome. But we aren't here to talk about your job today. We're here to talk about your season in the MJBL. Talking about your offense. One stat that pops out to me is you're leading the league in RBIs right now with 20. Just speak about how your offense has kind of transformed this year in terms of just from other years that you've had a chance to play in the league.
Comparing it to last year, I will say I struggled last year, which I don't know what happened, but this year for all the RBIs I have, I've got to give it to the bottom of my order. Like, they're the ones getting on, giving me the opportunity to hit them in. And that's about it. Like, can't really complain about it.
Yeah, it's always nice to have that type of support from your team, being able to get on base like they've been able to get on. It's just a phenomenal team that you guys got this year, looking for that fourth straight championship. What's that been like for you throughout the past 3 years of just being able to experience the championships that you guys have been able to win?
Yeah, it's been a pretty neat feeling every year. Like, we just keep adding on. It's just like first year we won it, I was really excited. Then last couple years, I thought to myself we're going for something big, and it seems like this year too that we're going to win another one, but can't jinx it quite yet since we're not quite done.
Yeah, for sure. You guys still got some business to take care of course. Final game of the regular season coming up tonight against the St. James A's, a team that has been able to beat you this year, the only team in the league that's been able to beat the Elmwood Giants.
Yeah,
Just
that's a little bit of a
ha-
surprise compared to the
yeah,
last few years we've played them. Like, they haven't been the strongest last couple years, but this year they seem to be a little stronger, including on the pitching side, which is where they kind of got us, where they shut us out that second game we played against them.
yeah, right. They had a pitcher that ended up throwing a complete game shutout, which is pretty impressive in itself. But
Yeah,
just
it is.
going into the game tonight, playoffs starting up on Friday. What's the mindset for you and the team heading into this final regular season game of the year?
Try not to change anything too much. Don't try and do anything special. Just keep doing what we've been doing, and everything will fall in place pretty much.
Just in terms of the past 3 seasons, what's it been like for you just getting to bond with this group of boys that you've had the chance to go on this journey with, going back to back to back three championships in a row?
It's been quite unique. I've played with these guys growing up my entire life, but it's always been against them, except in the winter where we usually train together. But getting to play with them is a total different experience, and I'm glad I stuck around here to play with them.
Yeah. Have you had a chance to get any opportunities to go to any colleges, or are you a college ball player at all? Explain what's going
Yeah,
on
I
with that.
actually play out in Lethbridge for Prairie Baseball Academy. It's out of Lethbridge, and it's kind of a 2-year program, kind of similar to a junior college in the United States.
Right on. Is when did you start with that team?
2 years ago, the fall before COVID hit.
So you're gonna have another chance to play again this season in college?
Yeah, I got one more year there, then I'm planning on transferring somewhere else, preferably out east for schooling, but I don't know
Yeah.
exactly where I'm going to end up quite yet.
Yeah, we'll see what happens, right? You still got some business to take care of,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
just looking at the season you've had this year, just the strong season you've had, just how nice is it knowing that before you head off to college, you've been able to get some, I guess, gain some more confidence heading in.
Yeah, it's definitely a nice feeling, like knowing I've been hitting pretty well before I head out to college, where it's going to be a pretty big year for me, I got a feeling. Um, and there's nothing you could really do to prepare for college because it's a total different mindset that you've got to have, but it's nice having this confidence heading into the fall.
Yeah, for sure. No doubt about it. And, your offensive numbers are definitely there. But let's speak about your defense. You're a catcher for this team. You've had a chance to play in the infield as well. Just speak about your game on the defensive side of things.
Um, uh, Most I can really say is like it's nice having pitchers that don't have me working too hard compared to other years or other teams I've played for. Sorry, and it's nice where they give me an opportunity to show myself off and what I'm good at, like throwing out runners or just stealing strikes for them.
Yeah. And, you're going to be a huge part of this team's success heading into the playoffs. Of course, just speaking about that, going into a playoffs where it's the first time that you're ever going to experience this in the MJBL, a double elimination format. Just how excited are you and the boys for this challenge of going out and trying to defend your title once again in this double elimination playoff
Uh,
format?
I'm definitely a little more nervous compared to last year, given we only have to lose 2 games to be out compared to last year where it was more of a series kind of playoff bracket. And it's going to have to keep me on my edge, and I think it's going to be the same for everyone else.
Yeah, and just speaking about the fans that are going to be able to come out, we're definitely going to see a rise in numbers due to the restrictions changing. Just how excited are you come that first game of the playoffs to see the type of crowd that or the types of crowds that you guys are going to have out there?
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a lot better than how we started off the season, only having, I think, it was like 25 fans, where just didn't have any energy to feed off of. Like, that's one of the big things for me is feeding off the energy of the crowd and just seeing where it takes me.
Looking at this season, I mean, you guys come into a season with three straight championships. You guys are currently 15-1-1. Just speak about how you guys have been able to be even more dominant this season compared to other seasons.
Uh, I would just have to say it's going to be mostly our hitting that's been our strongest point. Like, our pitching's always been top tier, and it's no different this year compared to other years, but hitting's just a lot stronger. Like, if you look at our runs, I think in 18 games we have 170 runs or something like that. So if you look at our previous years, it's definitely going to be a lot higher compared to other years.
One more question for you. What's it going to take for all the other teams in the league going up against this Elmwood Giants team in the playoffs to knock you guys off the throne?
I don't want to sound too cocky, but I'm going to have to say it's going to be a miracle for them to knock us off.
Welcome back to Coffee with Graeme on ASTV Productions. Number 4 of the Elmwood Giants, Owen Nychyk, joined me most recently on today's episode. I want to not only thank Owen, but the assistant coach of the St. James A's, Joel Zillman, Executive Director of Softball Manitoba, Don Klym, and MJBL President Jamie Bettens for coming on and being the guest in today's episode. I also want to thank you, the viewer, for tuning in to today's edition of Coffee with Graeme, as well as the official sponsors of Coffee with Graeme in Fabricland Winkler and Evolve Green for sponsoring another edition of the show. And here are the playoff matchups for the first set of games on Friday night in the MJBL to kick things off in the double elimination playoff bracket. Winnipeg South takes on the St. James A's at 7. The Pembina Valley Orioles take on the Carillon Sultans at 7 as well. And the Interlake Blue Jays face off against the Altona Bisons at 7:30. The winner of the Winnipeg South and St. James A's game will face off against the Elmwood Giants on Saturday at 12 p.m. And as for when you can catch the next edition of Coffee with Graeme, you can catch the next edition of this show next week on Tuesday at 10 a.m. Central Daylight Time on our Facebook at ASTV Productions, or you can also check it out on our website at astvproductions.com. But until then, I've been your host of Coffee with Graeme, Graeme Forsyth, signing off now until I see you all on next Tuesday. Have a wonderful rest of your Thursday. Stay safe out there and have a wonderful weekend as well. Peace out, everybody.